We're off and running in the 2020 Texas high school football season. It's week 2. These are the picks. Welcome into the picks presented by Visit Arlington, your guide to Texas high school football weekend. My name is Greg Tepper of Dave Campbell's Texas Football and TexasFootball.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and here we are into week 2 of the 2020 Texas high school football season. We made it through largely unscathed in week 1, and so our reward is more football. Continue doing your part. Social distance, wear a mask, and listen to those UIL guidelines. People, we all got to be in this together. As usual, this comes with a big asterisk. There's going to be changes to the schedule this week, no doubt, whether it's because of the coronavirus or whether it's because of the weather situation down in Southeast Texas. So make sure you keep up with TexasFootball.com for all the latest news and notes around the state. We'll make sure to keep your schedule updated. In any case, we start this week in Grayson County. 7:30 p.m. Friday night at Jim Henderson Memorial Stadium in Pottsboro. It is a big-time 3A clash between the Pottsboro Cardinals and the Gunner Tigers. What are the keys to this matchup? Key number 1, Pottsboro's offensive balance against Gunner's defensive discipline. This is going to be a really fun matchup because I think both of these teams are uniquely suited to challenge each other in this non-district matchup. For Pottsboro, quarterback Braden Plyler is back after leading his team to the state championship game last season. He's got a great running back besides him in Cooper Townsley. This is a team that can really beat you in a variety of different ways. Going up against Gunner, a team that I would describe as disciplined on the defensive side, almost to a fault. This team is really, really sound defensively with linebacker Mitchell Brewer guiding the way. This is going to be a really interesting test because this is a hard Gunner defense to confuse, and yet Pottsboro beats you in a lot of different ways. So, who wins out when you have both of these offenses and defenses that do their job so well? Key number 2, how far has Hudson come? I'm talking about Hudson Graham, the quarterback for Gunner, and last year as a sophomore, he was pretty good. I don't think there's really anything you can complain about whenever he leads you to a state championship. He was very solid as a sophomore, but I think that there is another step that he can take, and he can truly become one of the best signal callers in 3A football, but he's got to make that step. Now, in the early goings, so far so good. The returns have been positive. He was razor sharp in their win over Van Alstyne, but this is going to be a much bigger challenge from this Pottsboro defense. So we're going to get a gauge. Just how far has the junior quarterback for Gunner come? And key number 3, time for a test. There's a variety of different methods as far as scheduling non-district games is concerned. Some teams like to load up with teams that they know that they can beat. Other teams like to go out there and get challenged. Well, this is going to be a challenge for both of these squads, and with all due respect to Nevada Community and Van Alstyne, this is going to be their first real test of the season. They're going to be looking across the field and seeing a team that played for a state championship last year. In Pottsboro's case, we're going to be looking across the field and seeing a team that won a state championship last year. And so, early in this year, after a strange offseason, with the first test now on the doorstep, who steps up to the challenge? Who am I picking? I'm going with Gunner. I think that the Tigers are able to go on the road and get a win because I think their offense is starting to open up a little bit. You know, last year it was a lot of that running game, and they've still got that. They're going to be a team that grinds it out on the ground, but they're starting to open up the offense around quarterback Hudson Graham, and I think that's going to make them even more dangerous. Not to mention their defense with Ethan Sloan and Mitchell Brewer should be one of the very best in 3A. For Pottsboro, I want to see them take that next step forward defensively and continue to do what they're doing offensively, especially as quarterback Braden Plyler really continues to take that next step as a signal caller. If this game were being played 7 weeks from now, the result might be different. But for now, I think Gunner brings home a victory. 7:30 p.m. Friday night at Forest Field in Hawley. It is a tantalizing 2A matchup between the Hawley Bearcats and the Hamlin Pied Pipers. What are the keys to this matchup? Key number 1, Hawley's youngsters. Everywhere you look on the field for this Bearcats squad, they have youth. They have underclassmen, juniors and sophomores, doing the heavy lifting. Whether you're talking about wide receiver Aeneas Segura, who is just a junior, or you're talking about star running back Austin Crumpton, who's just a sophomore, or you're talking about sophomore defensive back Will Scott, this Hawley team is very, very young, and they don't look it. They look like a team that's ready for prime time right now. And so, early in the season, can these youngsters for Hawley step up in a big game? Key number 2, Hamlin's veterans. And so on the other side, you have this Hamlin team that went all the way to a state championship game last year. They have played on the biggest stage, and a lot of those key components are back, including quarterback Braden Warner and defensive end Ethan Byerly. This is a team that is no stranger to big games because they played in the biggest one of them all. So early in the season, does veteran leadership and being there before matter? And key number 3, starting fast. So in their week 1 win over Roscoe, Hawley left no doubt, 42-7 at halftime, and they coasted from there. And that's kind of what you come to expect from a team that's really, really good. Hamlin, on the other hand, Hamlin kind of scuffled out of the gate. Only 7-0 at halftime against Stanford, and then they went on to win convincingly in the second half. But if they do that against Hawley, Hawley can bury them. Hawley's got those types of playmakers that are going to be able to put them down and keep them down. So, can Hamlin start fast, or will Hawley start faster? Who am I picking? I'm going with Hamlin. I think the veteran leadership, especially early in the season, is going to end up being the difference in this game. I really think that Hawley's got a lot of exciting young stars, but I think that Hamlin, behind quarterback Braden Warner, has the edge in this one. Furthermore, I think that the Hamlin defense is really cooking right now. Between Dylan Bell, Ethan Byerly, that whole defensive front seven looks really strong. I think a key for Hawley in this one is their senior quarterback Xavier Rodella. If he is able to come through with a big game, I think this game could come down to the final moments. But for now, I think experience matters. I think pedigree matters. I think Hamlin brings home a victory. 7:30 p.m. Friday night at Hawk Stadium in Texarkana. It is a fabulous 4A matchup between the Pleasant Grove Hawks and the Argyle Eagles. And this game's got a lot of intrigue at the quarterback spot. CJ Rogers at Argyle was just sensational in the season debut against Decatur, going up against Jalen Woodside, who takes over this high-powered Pleasant Grove wing T attack. But I'm a lot more interested in what happens in the trenches, specifically the Argyle offensive line led by Jack Tucker going up against Landon Jackson and this ferocious Pleasant Grove defensive front. This is maybe the best game in the state this week. It's going to be absolutely fantastic, but I do think that Argyle, because of their offensive balance, could bring them the win. 7:30 p.m. Friday night at Indian Stadium in Jourdanton. It's a 4A matchup between Corpus Christi, Cal Allen, and Jourdanton. And I think there was a bit of panic from some folks around the state of Texas whenever Cal Allen dropped their opener to San Antonio Cornerstone, and I am not among those. First of all, I think San Antonio Cornerstone's a really good team. They're absolutely loaded. They're kind of a San Antonio all-star team. Furthermore, Cal Allen was coming off of a week that was just horrific as one of their players, Gabe Cooley, was murdered earlier in the week. It's hard to go out there and play a football game with that on your mind. So I don't necessarily put a ton of stock in that loss, but they've got to shake it off quickly because they are now up against Jourdanton and quarterback Cole Andrews. This team is absolutely loaded. A Dave Campbell's Texas football darling around here. We are very high on Jourdanton. That said, I think that Cal Allen puts it together. I think the defense comes through with big stops. I think running back Jeremiah Earls leads Cal Allen to a victory. 7:30 p.m. Friday night at Willie Williams Stadium in Belmead. Big-time Waco area matchup as Vega takes on Connolly. You know, we had some concerns about Connolly coming into this year because, look, it's a 4A team, and they signed 4 guys off to FBS teams. You don't just have that kind of talent drain and not feel the effects. Unless you're Connolly, apparently, because Kavion Gaither has led this team to new heights. This team is looking really good, looked fantastic in their win over Sunnyvale. Now going up against Vega, who's probably just happy to have a normal, boring week, right? Last week, they had their game against West Orange Stark scrapped on Monday. They then have to reschedule the game with Port Lavaca Calhoun, who runs one of the weirdest offenses in the state, and they come away with a great win. This week is going to be a lot more straightforward. Running back Jarquay Walton was fantastic in week 1. I think he's going to be fantastic again in week 2, and more importantly, the Vega defense is starting to hum. I think the Pirates come away with a victory. But those are far from the only big games in week 2 of the Texas high school football season. Let's get to the lightning round. I like Columbus over Giddings. Give me Albany over Dublin. And Refugio takes down George West. Corpus Christi Miller beats Rockport Fulton. I like Thorndale to go to 2-0 with a win over Snook. And give me Midlothian Heritage to take down Lindale. St. Augustine wins their opener over Wascom. Springtown takes down Graham. And I like Silsby to beat Jasper. Wall stays hot with a win over Cisco. Wellington beats New Deal. And I like Needville to take down Huffman Hargrave. Wink over Ozona. Sudan just barely over Sundown. And out east, big one. I like Gilmer over Henderson. It's the Polish Bowl. I like Fall City over Poth. It's the Kraut Bowl. I like Lindsay over Munster. And Uvalde beats Devine in a game that I don't think has a nickname. Trio of terrific Central Texas games. I like Cameron Yo over Belleville. Give me China Spring over Lorena, and Grandview edges out Salado. Keep an eye on this one. I think Canadian gets a scare, but they beat Iowa Park. And in our six-man game of the week, I like Borden County over Westbrook. And those are the picks. What am I wrong about? Which games did I leave out? Leave comments down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/DaveCampbells. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/DaveCampbells. And of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Thanks for watching. Enjoy week 2 of the Texas high school football season. Be safe, wear a mask. We'll see you.